Hello there, Tim Knight, and it is chart time. The the tone and the texture of this show versus Dr. Jim's show is so different. I mean, I'm like a glass of sand compared to the exultant and persistently positive Dr. Jim. Oh well, it all averages out in the end, right? So anywho, it is a green day. ES is up, YM is up, RTY is up, but my shorts are still doing well because of the concentration. They are very semiconductor related and tech related. And so it's been a green day all day long. And my short positions have been making the most deliciously obscene gesture to the rest of the market out there. So it's a good day. And during my little morning segment, it was really green, but you could tell something was up because the semiconductors weren't having any of it. So let's look at a chart or two, shall we? That's what we do here. We're going to start off with the recalcitrant diamonds. They just refuse to break. And you know what? Just to be a brat, I shorted a whole ton of this about 20 minutes ago, based on the hope that it would break the trend line. It's a nice tight stop right there, right where the line is drawn. This is really one of the this is the ultimo hombre right here. He's just refuses to break. I suppose it's helped us to some degree by the mega banks, the financials. I don't tend to touch banks because they are steadfastly protected by the government. No harm will dare ever befall them. We came close in 2008. I mean, if we could wave the magic wand to really clean things up, 2008 was the opportunity to just like wipe things clean and start over. Didn't happen. So now we're $40 trillion in debt and just supporting the poor dears. So your JP Morgans and your Chases, they're all doing just fine. Thanks for asking. So the XLF is at lifetime highs. I don't touch this stuff. I'm looking for disasters. IWM is also in the haven't quite broken the trend line club, but it's getting a little sketchy. It's teasing a little bit. On Monday and today, it went a little bit below the trend line. It wouldn't take much to crack that sucker. Emerging markets have been weak for a while. These peaked way back on June 22 and have been sloppily trending lower. And in particular, of course, you might not be surprised to know that South Korea is the poster child for bad markets now. You've probably seen that news story about the widely followed YouTube investment celebrity in South Korea, got like 90,000 followers or something. And now that South Korea is starting to fall to pieces, he got stabbed repeatedly, like in the face, in the body. So yeah, no. Luckily we're not hearing about that here, but people do get passionate about these things. And, you know, we as traders know it's really important to try not to blame others for your decisions. I mean, I've said it before. I tease people sometimes because I never get a thank you for my short ideas, but I don't want them because I don't want credit. I don't want blame. I'm here to offer ideas, to share my charting knowledge. I've been doing this since oh my God, how long has it been? Since 1987. 1987, I've been doing charting. And I'm here to share my knowledge and decades of accrued wisdom and share ideas with you with a strong bearish tilt. But if you make a fortune, don't thank me. And if you lose your house, don't blame me. It's not my fault. I'm just here to try to show you charts and provoke ideas with you. And don't stab me either, by the way. You'll never get through the subcutaneous tissue anyway. So FXI, China, looks good on the short side. And I say that having lost on this already. I came into the day short FXI. I lost like that. And I'm in it again, glutton for punishment. It's a pretty chart. It's got a ton of overhead supply. I'm not giving up on this. So I'm short FXI. I remain the short BIDU. Didn't get stopped out of that. So here's BIDU. It is up, but not terribly much, and it has not been stopped out, and I really like this pattern. I've also re-entered a short on BABA. Got stopped out of that too. Lost in FXI, lost in BABA. I'm not going to lie to you. It happens, but I'm in it again. And it looks prettier than ever. Nice little shooting star there. So China, China, China. Where have I heard that? PDD, you know what? I'm not going to touch it. It'll probably fall too if all the Chinese stuff falls, but the gap's way too far away. It's not as nice to chart. Why are you showing us a chart that's ugly? I don't know. I just thought I might mention it because it is one of the more popular Chinese individual items. You know, let's talk about SpaceX, shall we? Shield your eyes, Frank. We're going to look at this thing. There has been over $1 trillion. I got to stop sticking my tongue out to look like Lindsey Graham. Keep your tongue in your mouth, Tim. Okay. SPCX has lost over $1 trillion in shareholder value since it peaked. And I consider the peak to be just under 230. That was the, because I was watching this thing tick by tick. Just under 230. It's down almost $100 from there. It's lost over $1 trillion in value. We ain't hearing no more about Elon being a trillionaire anymore because, by God, that was boring. But yeah, everyone was running around clutching their pearls about that. Don't worry, he's lost the comma. He's one of us again. But over $1 trillion. I felt it, and a lot of other people have too. But you know what? It doesn't sting too much because I'd rather be right than rich. Crazy, huh? I've done videos on this. The valuations were insane. And I think they're going to get more and more sane as time goes on. I'm a chartist. I base things upon long-term histories. There's very little to go on here except for one and only one thing from a charting perspective, which is that we're at lows. And there is firm support at one and only one place, and that is 0. I'm not saying it's going to 0. Could it go to 20? Oh yeah, I guess. It's in terrible shape. We're approaching 50% loss from the peak, and there is nothing holding it up. And there's going to be even less starting on August 13, when the insiders, some of whom were briefly billionaires, many of whom were centimillionaires, are seeing their net worth go poof. And they were looking at Lamborghinis, and that's like, Toyota makes a good car. And so you're going to see from August 13, mark the day, all the way through December 9, sell. Because it's a matter of balancing the nonsensical projections like from Raymond James of $830 a share versus the fact that oh my God, it's hitting lifetime lows every single day. Jiminy Cricket, I got to get out of this thing. I'd rather have cash. So it's going to be interesting to watch. It's been a disaster. And I say that as a participant in that disaster, but kind of a joyful one, right? I had also said in my videos that Cerberus might be a good model for what SpaceX is going through. Looks like I was right. Look at that. It's kind of close. There was a lot of excitement at the beginning, and it has been barfing all over its lapels ever since. So we're just stumbling lower on this too. It's a very different company. This is a memory company. But it is similar in as much as they took advantage of a very hot sector. And if a year or two from now, we're trying to find the exact peak of the tech stock bubble, it wouldn't be a mistake to say, how about the IPO SpaceX day? Put that on the calendar, because that was a fervor. And I also really wonder if the Anthropic and IPO, and even next year the Open IPO, are going to actually do it all decently, because this has caused a lot of damage. How enthusiastic do you think people are going to be about some big new $1 trillion IPO tumbling out with sky-high valuations? Nah, I'll stick with Apple. They seem to do nothing but go up, thanks. And you're seeing that reflected too in VCX. As I've said before, this is the fund dedicated to those who want to get in before the IPO. Fewer and fewer people. It's like, I can lose money on my own. I don't need help. So that's withering away. Cubes have a bearish engulfing pattern now. We're down about 0.81% on this. It's kind of a pennant, I suppose, if we're going to put a name on it. I haven't drawn any lines for it, but it's kind of a pennant pattern. It's getting less and less dynamic. But as I've said, I am very, very heavily short semiconductors and other highly valued tech issues. Some of them include applied materials, down about 3 1/3%. CRDO, which has cracked below its completed pattern today. This is down over 5%. Nokia, down almost 5%, doing God's work, just falling every day, little by little. ST Microelectronics down almost 5%. These have all broken their trend lines, and it was very heartening to see them making the aforementioned obscene gestures even this morning when things were just rocketing higher, thanks to this government-generated inflation data, which I'm sure is not fabricated at all. AXTI down, it's down on like 10% every day, it seems. Today it's down less, it's down almost 9%. Here's Ciena, CIEN, down over 5%, and let's just add another line there. It's looking close to breaking yet another support level, like so. Lumentum, LITE, fired up for the past week, pushed up against its overhead supply, and now reversing itself, throwing away days of gains very quickly. Marvell down almost 8%. As I mentioned this morning, I covered my short here. I re-entered it on the spike and been holding on to it ever since, and down she goes. Micron, MU, this is down also, having plunged below its broken trend line. I think I saw it lost $100 billion today in market cap, can't be bad. STX, this is Seagate, down over 6%, also plunging below its broken trend line. And keep in mind, this is with the market at still insanely high levels. I gotta emphasize that. It's not like, well, we've gone down 2%, I guess we're done. No, you know, if the Dow's like 53,000 or something, no. Wake me when it's 20,000, then we can talk about that, but no, lots to go. Here's WDC, down almost 10%. You know, this is kind of leading the charge. This is the avant-garde, the leading edge of selling, because these were the companies that were so very richly valued, and the whole AI space, the hyperscaling space, whether you're talking about Oracle or CoreWeave or any of these semiconductors or companies that are private like OpenAI and Anthropic, the bloom is coming off that rose real quick. Even the likes of Caterpillar, I bought puts on this yesterday morning. Yay, because it was way up here, and we got two nice fat red bars there, and as strange as it seems, Caterpillar was a big beneficiary of the AI mania because they were seen as an important part of that whole construction process. As an aside, I'll just say Carvana continues to be annoyingly robust. It's up 0.6%, but I emphasize these are January puts. This is not a dead duck. It could be. If we go flying above that diamond pattern, sure. But as it is now, it's just annoying and hasn't broken any core reason for being I'm long puts on this one. So, you know what? We got time for a couple more charts. SMH is key. This is my anchor position. We've had a nice drop on this today, 2.19%. And shut up, Dookie. We've got a kind of a head and shoulders pattern here, which hasn't quite broken yet. If we can slip below the support, that will be a big step in the right direction. And I didn't include this, forgive me, producer, but I'm going to punch in one last chart here, the NQ, because this is a very important one to watch. Hello, Tim, click it. This is the key right here, because what I want to emphasize here is that on the one hand, we've got this range we've been in ever since June 22. June 22. And over here, June 12, excuse me. So here's the whole range. But in recent weeks, we've been in the lower half of that range. So the key for the one or two bears, and I'm probably rounding up, that are still out there is if we can break that support line, that lower support line. If we can break that, you're going to see a real acceleration in selling, and we're not going to have this bifurcation of like, well, the ES and the YM and the RTY are green. How about that? It'll be red across the board, but it's got to break that support first. Okay. Amazingly, I'm ending on time.